Welcome to the Books and Martinis podcast.
I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy.
And this is your go-to book podcast,
where we lift, empower, and spotlight authors.
Grab your martini and follow along.
And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe.
Hey, book lovers. This episode of Books and Martinis is brought to you by our wonderful sponsors. Blue Box Media, you dream it, we produce it. And Travel with Samantha Cividanes, specializing in luxury cruises. Ooh. Their support keeps the stories, authors, and conversations flowing. Don't forget to visit them and support the brands that support this podcast. Now the martinis are poured, let's get into the episode. What's up, everyone? Welcome to our podcast. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mercy. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Sloane. Cheers, girls.
Cheers, Sloane.
Hi, pretty ladies. Cheers. Cheers.
Salute. You guys, on the screen and in your ears is Sloane Noir. She is all coming to us all the way from South Africa, guys. South Africa, 6 hours away from us. We're so excited. And she is the author of the mystical series, Mystical Enchantment and Mystical Wildfire. And hopefully we get to know a little bit more about the next book, book 2.
Almost done.
Almost done. Yay. So let me read a little bit about Sloane and then we'll go straight into the interview. So Sloane is an indie author from South Africa, as we mentioned, writing paranormal romance and slowly branching out into new, darker themes of the genre because one love story is never enough. She published her debut novel, July 2025, which I got to read as a quick reader, followed by a companion novella in November 2012, which I also got to read as an ARC reader.
Wow.
And she describes herself as an old school romantic with a twist and a complete sucker for a happily ever after. Welcome, Sloane.
Woo!
In
South Africa, when we do a welcome, we do like la 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 la.
Yeah. I love that.
So that is our traditional welcome.
So you guys, I don't know if you've heard, but well, actually, you haven't heard because we had Azaria on before. Azaria was our editor, and we're actually going to be featuring her for a whole month this summer.
I heard.
Azaria is the person who brought us all together because Azaria is running your arcs, and she's your assistant, and she's also our editor. So shout out to Azaria.
Yeah, she has all of our work. She has read all of it from all of us.
Exactly.
No, she's absolutely amazing, and she never lets you down. She's always that little confidence boost that you need. So we've become really, really good friends, and you guys can't go wrong. I promise you.
Well, the process has been so wonderful with her. But let's get back to you, because this whole episode is about you and your series. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, so I am a little bit chaotic and wild, and I'm just kind of no drama llama. What you see is what you get. Like you mentioned, I'm 42 years old in August this year.
Happy birthday.
So I started at a late age in life to actually realize my dreams. But strangely enough, I started writing Mystical Enchantment when I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
You can believe it or not, yeah. So the great authors, the paranormal romance queens like Cheryl Kenyon, J.R. Ward, all the queens that has been around forever. I was very young when we went on holiday, and I was bored to death, and I went into this little library that the vacation spot had, and I just picked up a copy of the Dark Hunter series, and I fell in love with paranormal romance when I was a teenager. And I have a very active imagination. So from there, I couldn't get it out of my head. And I started dreaming up all these characters and My mom, who is very supportive, and she's been very supportive of me since, like she's really one of those moms that always tell you, you can be whatever you want to be. So just go for it. And I couldn't get the characters out of my head, and the more I thought about it, the more they became real people to me. Like I would talk to them like they were real, and a lot of the characters related to my life at that stage. And so I started writing the book, and life happened, as it does with all of us. You go through your ups and downs, and you forget about your passions. You put that aside to, take responsibility as an adult. But when I reached 40, I really reached a turning point in my life, and it was kind of like an epiphany that this is something that I've carried in my heart for 20 years. I've worked on it during those 20 years. I've added to it. I've changed it. I've grown. And one day I just decided to do it. And now I'm a published author. So
I love that. Congratulations. The world's been waiting for
you.
that book all this time.
Yeah,
Thank
20
so
years in
much.
the making.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think that's like the longest,
Right.
the longest
You'd be
running
surprised. Some books are like
draft.
a whole lifetime. So you would be surprised.
But and along the way, I've just got to experience so many amazing, because I was completely in a bubble. I didn't know anything about publishing. I didn't know anything about the book world, the online book community. I didn't know that there was this whole world out there. And once I started meeting people, I met Azaria through, we live in the same country. We didn't even know it, because we met through social media, and we were on some of the same street teams and same ARC teams. And, she was just always supportive, and will send you little messages saying, yes, that graphic that you made was really nice, or, just giving you pointers. So the community, the world that opened up after I decided to publish is just it's a eye opener. It's a really eye opener. But so now, apart from that, I have a full-time job as a human resource manager. So
In your other life.
in my other life,
Adulting.
in my full-time life. So I think that's also why I love reading and writing so much, because it's your escape. And I think a lot of us feel, people who love reading, you find that escape from the real world and the real realities of life in those stories. And the authors that bring that to life, it's magic. That's why I love reading and writing. Is just I've got a very serious job. I have to have a lot of responsibilities. I take care of over 400 people. Like I mentioned before we started, is I also run a nonprofit doggy rescue.
I love that. I love that. I feel like you're our peoples, because we love animals. Mercy has a pet.
You'll see. You'll never. I don't think you'll ever read a book from me where there isn't an animal featured. So.
Oh, you know what? Like, of course. Yeah. Okay. Well, while we talk about that, so you have in your both books, you have animals that are featured. Well, let's talk about that. So in book 1, Mystical Enchantment, you have a leopard.
No
Black
spoilers.
Panther.
A jaguar.
Jaguar.
Martini.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about that?
So, I've, like I said, the Dark Hunter series kind of got me thinking about, what type of characters I really relate to. And from there, I read a lot of shifter-specific paranormal romances. Mm-hmm. So, I'm It's very weird. It's a very weird thing. I'm a girly girl. I like glitter, and my favorite color is pink. And I like to do my hair and my makeup and my nails. But then I also have this quirky dark side that
Love
I'm
it.
drawn to, like the gothic theme and the little bit darker themes. So I didn't want to do the generic, which there's no problem with. I mean, my next book is about wolf shifters, which is, by the way, my favorite. So yeah, I absolutely werewolves and wolf shifters and anything to do
Love
with
it.
wolves. You'll see my theme, my author theme, everything, my logo, everything always features wolves. So I mean but I wanted to kind of make a stand out, like something that you don't really see and something that I've never read in a book. And what is more menacing and dangerous and screams alpha predator than a sleek jaguar
Mm-hmm.
crawling through the jungle and you don't even know he's there. And
And he's hot.
so this idea just stuck in my head and I couldn't get it out. And yes, and Vane, who is my main male character, he just formed. And when they say your characters are shouting at you, like he was just shouting, like that's what I am. I'm not going to be anything else. And so, but I've always loved strong, dominant male figures, and I don't think there's anything that says that better than an alpha predator.
Mm,
I agree. That's
yes.
really good. I agree. What was your favorite part of writing this book? And I would say more towards the end of it, because I know it was such a long, it was basically 2 decades. So in when you like sat there, a year ago, let's say, that you were really down just writing and putting it together, how did that period of time look for you when you decided this is it? I'm going to complete it and send it to an editor and move forward with it.
So when I started writing it, the writing and reading world was very different than it is today. The third person perspective was actually, it was very popular, and that's how all romance novels. It was written from a third person point of view. So as my reading changed, because obviously authors switched, reading became different and writing became different. And I think it's a twofold question. It's like I was in love with the story that I had written, but I also knew it wasn't modern. It wasn't a modernized story.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, something that really kept making me very emotional is the connection between my main characters and the connection between, because found family is a very strong theme um, in the series. And um, that to me is, I kept on kind of doubting myself that, would this in today's for today's readers, would it really resonate with them? But every time I read a passage, I could remember sitting there in front of the computer, or sitting, because I had a book that I used to handwrite chapters in, and I would actually remember the feeling that I had as a 25-year-old, a 35-year-old, 39-year-old, that 19-year-old that sat in her mom's office while she was working late,
Mm.
and writing out these little notes and creating all these characters. And I think that was the best part for me, is that nostalgic feeling of, that child dream, that
Hmm.
childish dream when you're 19 years old and you can conquer the world. And every time I would read the book, that feeling came back to me.
Came back.
And the memories that was connected to each part as I wrote them brought me back. And I think that's why I will forever have a very strong connection to this book specifically, because it was written through so many big parts of my life. That when I read it back, those parts, I was like, okay, I wrote this part when I was, when I had a breakup, or I wrote this part when I was, whatever, going through something, or I read this part when I was happy, and I could remember that happiness, and I could remember that sadness, and the feelings actually resonates in my words, and that is a very deep connection to
That's
me.
beautiful.
That
I
is
love that.
beautiful.
And on that same question, because I loved it, what's been the most memorable or surprising piece of feedback you've received from a reader once you released that book?
So I was actually very, very surprised by the overall receipt from readers, because I honestly thought that the third person, because a lot of people, even my editor, gave me feedback and said to me that, in today's kind of reading style, the third person perspective is not that popular. And also because I was very inexperienced, obviously, I had never taken a writing course. I was never coached in writing. I basically just winged it. So the writing style, and I will say this, from my point of view, is the writing style is a little bit drawn out. So it takes a long time, because I spend a lot of time on the world building, and to kind of, I'm a very descriptive person, and that comes through in my writing. So my main characters meet like a long way into the book.
Okay.
And the feedback that I was receiving before I published was like, there's too much information. It's an information dump. Like the world building is a little bit dense and complicated. The main characters takes too long to get to the point. It's a romance novel, and the third person POV. So that was all things that I was really nervous about. But I also expected, so I prepared myself for that kind of feedback. And something that really, really surprised me is so it was published in July. So it's not even been a year, and I have I think I'm at 144 reviews on Goodreads now.
That's great. I know mine is one.
Congratulations.
Yeah, of course, I loved yours. But
Oh.
I've been very, very blessed, and very fortunate with the group of ARC readers, and even people that bought the book, that a lot of indie authors I speak to, and a lot of people that I look up to, whose books I've read and reviewed, they really struggle. And I think this is an overall struggle for indie authors, is to get people to actually go and click and review,
Yeah.
even if they loved it. So the biggest surprise for me was the fact that I reached, because I set little author goals for myself, little mini achievements, which I celebrate, which is very, very big for me. And one of my author goals was to reach 100 reviews on Goodreads. And I reached that quite quickly. And out of all of the reviews, I only had 1 2-star, which I don't mind at all, because she actually gave me very useful and helpful feedback.
That's so scary to get like something under 3, because you're just like, oh no.
But you know what?
Well, she learned from it, right?
Yeah, but that's
But
scary
I
then.
actually, I was actually surprised that there wasn't more, because, like I say, this is coming from me myself. I was very inexperienced. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I was literally just babbling stuff that was in my mind, just pouring it out on pages and like slapping it into a book. So the biggest surprise and the biggest fulfillment for me was people actually coming back saying that, even though the third person POV was a little bit jarring and a little bit confusing at the beginning, once I got into the world building and the book, they related to the characters, and that to me was I actually had a physical emotional reaction to those reviews because I didn't expect it. I expected ones and twos and maybe threes, because I knew that it wasn't a modernized writing style. It wasn't from an experienced writer. And, I started when I was 19 years old. I mean, I really expected not necessarily negative feedback, but feedback from readers to say that, it's a little bit, like not so hip, if I can say, or and I didn't get that feedback. All the feedback I got was really really positive. And even though the things that I was stressing about was mentioned, readers still connected to the book, even though those things were a little bit new to them as readers, because today I don't really think there's a lot of books that's written from a third person perspective. So when you read it, it is quite so now. Now, because I only read first person, no, because that's what the authors are writing. So when I read my book again, it's even jarring to me, to get into the writing style. So that's definitely the thing that surprised me and honestly humbled me the most from this experience.
I love that.
I guess the story was powerful enough.
Yeah. So I have a question. So let's get in the weeds a little bit. So you talked about your little author goals. And I kind of feel that, I don't know, Mercy, if you can relate to this too, but now that my own book is setting up to publish later this year, I'm thinking,
okay, can't wait.
Thank you. I'm like, okay, what are my little author goals? Okay, if 50 people buy it, that's a win. Yes. You know what I mean? Like,
it's so important.
Yeah. So how you were describing it remind me of the way that we all like beat ourselves up, right? Like we are our biggest critic ever. Absolutely. Right. And so that's why I'm like, okay, 50 people buy it. Yay. So when you were thinking about your little author goals, what was going through your mind? Can you share any of them? And what kind of tips can you give to other authors listening?
So, like I said, I think I'm coming from a different perspective than most indie authors that's starting in this generation, or maybe started one generation earlier. Is that I kind of expected it to fall flat, so I didn't really have high expectations, and I was very careful not to set myself up for failure and for disappointment, because like you say, there's so many things that we as indie authors have to fight already and have to go through already, and to do that to yourself makes the experience worse than it has to be. So I kind of said to myself, if one person buys my book and actually reads my book and tells me, what, that was, I loved it, then I would be happy. But it's so surprising, and you'll see now when you publish, your author goals shift as you become more confident and as your readers give you more confidence, because I can put anything into a story and I can put anything on pages, but if my readers and if the beautiful people out there that takes days and hours to spend on your book don't give you that feedback and that power and that ambition and that courage, then it's just words on a page. So your author goals really shift. And once I started realizing that, I started saying to myself, okay, one of the author goals is when I sold my first physical copy, that was a goal to me. Like, I celebrated that. And the lady who bought my book, I made a whole post about her, and it was like this whole thing for me because she was the very first person to actually buy a physical copy of my book. It wasn't something that I gave away or as a prize or as a marketing promo. She went online and she paid money for something that I created. And that to me was mind
full
blowing.
circle.
It was absolutely mind blowing. So, I mean, that was I got listed on a big South African platform called Take a Lot. So they listed my book. That was an author goal for me achieved. I started saying if I get 20 people to sign up as ARC readers, then I would be happy. I've sent out over 700 ARC copies to date.
What is the average? Is there like an average amount of ARC readers, indie authors should expect? Like,
if I look at other indie authors in our genre, in the paranormal genre, it ranges anything between, I think the average is, I would say, 160 to 240. But because I'm in a very fortunate position as an indie author, and I don't know, I don't have the statistics, but I have a full-time job. So I'm independent. I have a very stable career. So I'm in the very fortunate position that it's not about making money off my book. That's not why I published it. It wasn't an expectation. There is no author goal in terms of monetary incentive. So I don't have an author goal to say I want to reach $100 in sales. There's no such thing. So for me, it's more about. So I am very happy to give away copies of my book, to give it as presents, to give it as promos, to, if anybody contacts me and says to me, you know what, I love your graphics, or a friend of mine read this book, where can I buy it? I will say to them, listen, give me your email address, I'll send you a book funnel link. I'm not interested in selling, obviously, I mean, it's great when you get that sale. And every time I look at my Amazon dashboard and there's a little 1 or 2, then I get like all excited and freaked out.
Of course.
Because, somebody actually spent money. They spend their money to buy something that I created. So obviously that's very exciting, and it's not something to disregard. But for me, author goals should be for you. It shouldn't be for you, what you can achieve in terms of, listen, I mean, if you want to be a best-selling author, and you want to be picked up by a publisher, and you want to have an agent, then you must go for that. You must set those goals, and you must say, listen, this is what I need to do to achieve those goals, and give yourself a timeline, and you must be serious about that. But my advice would be, start small. Start with small things. Like I said, is my first goal was to get people to actually sign up to read the book, to just get a free copy. Then my second one was to get the reviews from those people. The third one was, okay, now I'm published, I want one person to just buy a physical copy of my book. And your author goals shift as your confidence as an author grows. And the only way that will happen is if you connect with your readers, and you connect with the feedback, and you connect with the community. And they will kind of tell you where you are in your journey, where you kind of need to maybe push back a little bit more on marketing, or you giving the wrong, I don't know, promos or whatever kind of thing. So just be kind to yourself and start small, and then as your readership builds, you up and your confidence grows, then you start shifting those goals to something a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. So, I mean, my goal is not to become a best-selling author. It's not one of my goals, because it's just, it's my story, it's my baby, it's something that has an emotional connection to me. And I think the readers that I have, they're very, very special to me, because so I get excited about things like comments on Instagram that, oh my God, I love your writing style, or oh my God, the graphics in the book is amazing. It really added to the atmosphere. I could picture the characters coming to life. That's what I get excited about.
Do you screenshot? Do you screenshot all the comments?
I do.
I totally do. I mean, my book is not out yet, but when I see something, like somebody responding to something, I screenshot it. I'm like,
I probably have like over, I don't know how many, but like a whole folder of screenshots. And I like I say, I'm a very like, small things are very important to me. So I screenshot everything. Even if someone, shared my reel, and it's like a new interaction. It's someone that, I haven't interacted with, or even when someone will send me a message and say, a friend of mine read your book and she said it was really good, and where can I get it? I get so excited, and I screenshot and I put it in I have a little folder of author highlights and author the goals and the memories, and because that's what I want to remember down the line, 5 years from now, when I look at Mystical Enchantment, I want to remember that feeling that I had when someone said to me, I loved your book. I loved, and one ARC reader even said to me, she said to me, I hate Bologna. Like, I hate her. I want to, like, if she was an actual person, I think I could murder her. And
but
how
that's like the best, though, because you want people to have that visceral emotional reaction to characters. You want that.
Exactly. So I got so excited about that interaction, because even though she's the villain, she evoked an emotional reaction from a reader, and that's what you want as an author.
That's the goal.
That is the goal. And that's how I wrote her. She's frail and she's damaged, and it's not, she wasn't necessarily born like that, or and a lot of us can relate to that, not being evil, but I mean, like,
knowing
a lot
somebody
of us
evil
relate to things in your life not turning out how you wanted it, and that's that's as my ultimate goal as an author, is to connect with people on an emotional level, where people can say to me, I really related to a character, or really related to something that happened in your book. And those are definitely the highlights that I've experienced so far. But yeah, as far as advice go, like, I definitely agree with you. I think we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves, because we are really super critical. And something that I also found myself doing, and I see a lot of other indie authors in my community, in the space that I am in, is don't compare yourself to others, because your situation is not the same. Even if you're writing exactly the same genre, exactly the same, like, character types, like if I write a wolf shifter book and someone else, it's not the same. My situation is I'm independent, I have a stable career, I'm not, selling my books is not a priority for me. The next indie author might not be in that situation. It might be someone that is relying on this for their career, for their, for a salary, for an income. Our situation is not the same. Our goals are not the same. So I cannot compare my achievements to their achievements, because it's different. And I think that's the biggest trap that we fall into, is we start comparing ourselves to others. And where we fall short, it creates both, I would say, kind of jealousy, because I see a lot of posts. Quite recently there was a lot of posts on social media about authors sharing their Amazon KDP reads and their sales and stuff, and to a lot of people that's discouraging, because if you start comparing yourself to, that's what I'm saying, don't fall into that trap. If I know that my book has been out for a year and someone else published at the same time, and she shares her or he shares their stats saying, they've sold 500 copies, and I've sold 5 copies, like our circumstances are not the same.
Correct.
So, and I
it's
think
so
that,
hard. It's so hard not to do that though. Like
no,
it's so
it's
hard.
almost
So yeah,
impossible. It
right.
is
Yeah.
That's why
very,
Sloane is
very
saying
difficult,
to work
because
on
you
that.
start questioning yourself, like, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not doing that? Or, am I targeting the wrong type of reader? Am I not offering the same? Is my story not good enough? But what I'm saying is, what I've learned through my experience is that I really thought that my story was not good enough for today's readers, because of the generational gap of when I wrote it and when it was published. And
Mhm.
what I learned is I found my people, I found my group of readers that's excited about my writing and exciting about the next step. So there you will find your group, you will find your readers, and you will have your successes. You don't have to compare yourself to others, because they have a different approach. They might have different resources than you, like they might be able to place ads or do promotions or stuff like that
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you're not aware of. You're not aware of
Even,
their
and you were
process.
mentioning it, even being in a different country where the currency is so different and the opportunities are so different, marketing can look very different as
Yeah.
well.
Wherever you are.
So just, I think my advice would be is just enjoy what you're doing. Do it for
Love
you.
it. Yeah.
Do it for you, and when you are happy with it, and it makes, I mean, my second book, I'm editing it right now. It's
And
making me
that's
laugh.
Mystical Wildfire, right?
No,
No.
so it's Mystical Luna.
Luna. Okay.
So Mystical Enchantment is book 1. Then Mystical Wildfire is
Two.
1.5 basically. So it's
Novella.
a
Oh, how
companion.
funny. I got you. Okay.
So
Okay.
let
Okay.
me just tell you, my ARC readers and my street team, Mystical Wildfire was not planned, just by the way.
Okay.
So
Okay.
They
my
demanded more.
yeah, my ARC readers and my street team was going at me, because Tamara and Brayden had such chemistry in book 1, and they would not stop harassing me about why these two
Love
didn't
it.
get together. And
I
I
love
was just
it.
Ah,
like,
good to know.
okay, well then let me just shut you up. And I say that with a lot of affection. And I actually wrote Mystical Wildfire for my ARC and street team.
I love
Um,
it.
so
Hmm.
that story was born from their excitement and their wanting to have a little have the characters have a little bit more depth.
Yeah.
So
So
the next
mystical,
one
yeah, Mystical Luna. Tell us a little bit about that
is,
before we close.
so it's the series is a standalone love story. So obviously
Yeah.
each book features a different couple, but it is an interconnected universe. So
Oh, okay.
the shifters are all in part of the same universe, and some of the characters will make some guest appearances in book 2
Hmm.
in a slightly different capacity. I can just hint that if anybody has read Mystical Enchantment, the ending, uh, hero is we expand a little bit more on that. But it is about werewolves, so it is about wolf shifters, and the main male character is his name is Blake. He is a werewolf alpha, and Alina, who is a human vet. And it takes place in Alaska.
That's different. South Africa, Alaska.
I love to be different.
Hence the name, Mystical Luna. I love it.
And I have a common theme throughout my books. You'll always find, the heroine. There's always some sort of. So I also something that it's just a quick mention is I have a degree in psychology. So I have a very deep understanding of human nature and human interaction. So for me, it's very important, or it's something that I always like to include, is where there's something, like someone grows into their destiny or their power or their lineage. And I kind of feel that started with me as that 19-year-old girl who grew, into this power. And that's something that really reflects throughout my writing style. So it's a little bit edgier and a little bit spicier than Mystical Enchantment.
Yay. I love that stuff.
There's a shower scene that I can share with you.
And when does it come out? When does Mystical Luna come out?
So it's going to the publishing house that I'm using in South Africa. It's an independent publisher. So it is going to their editor at the end of May. And I'm hoping to publish also around July, August.
Wow. So you're trying to keep the same time frame again.
The same type of timeline, yeah.
I love it.
But I am also hoping one of my new author goals is I want to I've recently met and interacted with some phenomenal cover designers from the Philippines. And they have designed some I don't have words for the covers. So at the moment I have so many work in progresses. I have like folders everywhere. So hopefully you'll see some dark romance, dark mafia romance.
Ooh.
And strangely enough, something that is I'm busy with at the moment, a taboo step sibling romance.
Ooh,
so I'm trying a little bit of different things, trying to branch out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm finding it very interesting, and I'm really loving the experience.
I can't wait. So where
you're basically saying you're coming back. That's what you're saying.
Where
I hope so, because I'm loving every moment of this.
Oh, we can't wait for that. So where can our listeners and our watchers and our readers and our authors find your current books?
So Mystical Enchantment is widely published. As I said before, I didn't really know a lot about publishing going into it. I've learned a lot since then. So in South Africa, it is available through the Book Hive, which is a South African indie author. They specialize in supporting indie authors. You can also find it on Takealot, but it's also available widely on Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Amazon, basically. And also, if you really don't have the money, just pop me an Instagram DM and I'll give you an e-copy for free.
I love that.
I'm really not. I would rather have someone read the book and give me feedback and get that review than make that sale, honestly. And then Mystical Wildfire is exclusively on KU. So I've just been testing out the kind of different publishing avenues whether that's kind of working for me. but because it is a companion novella, I mean, obviously it's not, it's a bit difficult to kind of just, it can stand alone, but there's like you would know, there's a lot of references to Mystical Enchantment. So you won't always follow the story 100% if you just read it by itself.
Okay.
But I am yours. But like I say, anybody can just pop me a DM on Instagram, TikTok.
And they'll find you at Sloane Noir.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
author
Thank
dot
you.
Sloane Noir, and you can literally just ask me for a copy. I'm very, very happy to provide a copy, and also watch my page. Azaria and I run giveaways and promos for physical signed copies on a regular basis.
I love that. Okay.
So we ran an ARC reader promo that if you review on Amazon, Goodreads, and on your social media, you went into a draw, and 3 people won a book box, a fully stocked book box with a signed copy. So yeah, just keep an eye on the page. There's regular giveaways of physical copies as well, if that's what you want.
Yay. I love it. Well, that's what we want.
Yes. Yep. So let's do one last cheers and close out.
Oh,
I want to thank you so much.
You have been lovely.
Yes, you have been lovely.
Thank you for everything that you do for indie authors.
Of course. Cheers to you, Sloane Noir. Everybody get a copy of her mystical series. Cheers.
Yes.
Salute. Like, share, follow, subscribe. All the information will be in the summary below.
Love you guys.
Thank you, Sloane.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye. Next time.
Thank you, Sloane.
Bye.